1, 2, 3, respond flow.
Welcome back to the Finding Moments podcast. My name is Wong Lim, and today's very special guest is the co-founder of Respond Flow and a 3-time national champion gymnast at the University of Oklahoma on the men's gymnastics team, Peter Daggett. Welcome to the podcast, brother.
Thanks so much for having me, man.
Absolutely, man.
It's great to be here.
Boomer Sooner, brother.
Thank you, Boomer Sooner.
Yeah, man. Before we get started,
Mm-hmm.
look to your right on that red tray. There's a little note that my wife and I wrote for you. Don't read it out loud, but that's just something for you before we start the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's awesome. I'm going to keep
Absolutely,
that.
man.
Awesome.
And then there's also that shirt.
Oh,
phrase.
sweet.
You have your Respond Flow shirt. Now you have a
Nice.
Defining Moments podcast shirt.
Sweet. Got to rep that. Nice.
Yeah, man.
Sweet. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. How's your day been?
It's been pretty good, you know. Yesterday, I actually I graduated from OU yesterday, so that was pretty exciting. And you know, did a little small celebration with my roommates last night, and then pretty much all today has been you know, working, setting up some new CRM tools, and just kind of having a weekly alignment meeting for Respond Flow that we do every Sunday. And yeah, just now I'm here.
Right on.
Yeah.
Small celebration or big celebration? What do you mean by small celebration?
You know, it was a small celebration, just the four of us. You know, it was kind of graduation was something that was not. I wasn't as excited to graduate as, you know, maybe a typical student, you know, because my graduation kind of felt like it came at the end of my senior season with gymnastics. And that was my, you know, that was this past April. And, you know, since then, you know, I didn't have any classes over the summer, and, you know, I had joined the Respond Flow team. I was only in 6 hours, so it wasn't taking up a huge chunk of my time. And I was pretty much focused, you know, about 95% on Respond Flow, and just kind of given what I have left over to maintain my, finish out my graduation.
Yeah. You mentioned Respond Flow.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk Respond Flow.
Yeah.
It's a text messaging app. Give us some more background on this.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, Respond Flow is a SMS software for businesses that gives them the tools they need to communicate better with their customers, help them grow their sales, and increase customer loyalty. So basically, what we allow people to do is use our tool to take a local 10-digit number. So like if we're around here, it would be a 405 number, and, you know, send out mass messages that feel like they've been written by a human. So like, you know, each message will be personalized with everybody's first name. And what's awesome about it is people can actually respond to these messages and build a, you know, kind of open up a dialogue of communication via text. And that's something that, you know, you don't necessarily see from a lot of the other text message automation companies. You know, you're probably used to, you know, I'm sure anybody who's watching or listening is used to getting, you know, a 5-digit text from, you know, AT&T or whatever saying, you know, saying that your account has been updated. But that's not communication. That's notification. When you get that message, you don't feel like you are seen or heard. You just feel like you're a number on a list. Gotcha. And that's not what we want. We want you to feel like a human when businesses are trying to communicate with you. It's just, and the businesses, they want to communicate with you like a human. They just don't necessarily have the time to go and write each person an individual message. It's not efficient that way. So we're essentially trying to provide that same high human touch that allows people to open up a dialogue via text or even call, through sending out, you know, automated outreach messages. So, you know, that can come in lots of different forms. That can come from, you know, like a lead capture form on a website. So like you put your information in, and then you get a automated text message that has your first name asking you, you know, what, like how I can help. It can be, you know, if you're a, you know, like a physical retail shop, you want to run a special and you want to send all your customers deals via the phone number. It's great for that too. And then, you know, just also as a customer service tool, like if your customers ever have any issues, they know this is the one place they can go. They can just text you. It's simpler for them. Everyone hates email nowadays. No one reads them. So it's kind of a, you know, you get the personalization of email with the, you know, deliverability, open rates, and
Yeah.
communication of text message.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love that. I like texting because I feel like it's more of a personal type of message than it is just a batch like 88051 from, let's say, AT&T. Hey,
exactly.
Wong, your phone bills due or whatever.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it a lot of it, it may seem like we're just automating a process that is, meant to be human, but really what we're trying to do is automate the first part, the part that takes all of the time consuming,
Mm,
those all those minutes and hours in the day that you could be spending, typing out each individual message, hitting send, or copying, pasting, whatever. We're
right.
trying to take that and consolidate it down to where the only people that you actually, spend your time communicating with are the ones that are responding, that are texting you back, that want to communicate with you. You're not focusing your time with the people that are like, I don't care, you know. And that's really what has it's really been showing some awesome results for our
Hmm.
customers, and I think that's been part of what's been able to set us apart so far.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Thank
So,
you.
let, if I get your service and let's say it's Defining Moments podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to text you and wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Why, thank you as
I
well.
appreciate it. Would it be Peter? And then what would it say? Can we customize this?
You can customize every single message.
Okay.
You can
Wow.
use those, dynamic attributes like first and last name. We're about to launch a feature here in the next couple of weeks to where you can put any sort of dynamic field you want in there,
Mhm.
and that'll be pretty cool to have. Um, but yeah, you can write each message out, just template it, super simple, and schedule it to send whenever you want.
Man, get out of town. So, well, how's this going to work? Then I'm trying to think of this template. So when you receive a message from Defining Moments podcast,
Hmm.
or would it be from Defining Moments podcast, or how would this be?
Yeah, totally. So one thing that I always recommend to people when they're sending out like all their messages is not to say this is Defining Moments podcast per
Right.
se. You'd say this is Huang from Defining Moments
Yeah. Yeah.
podcast. You want
Right.
to introduce yourself because you don't talk to a business, you talk to people at a
Yeah.
business or an organization or a podcast or whatever it may
Right.
be. Because people don't want to communicate with businesses, they don't want to communicate with robots, they want to communicate with humans.
Yeah.
So I always recommend like make sure you introduce yourself.
Love
But
it.
what it would look like for you is you would write up a message that you would say, hey, and then you would just click like a first name button, and that would auto populate based on each contact.
Okay.
So you really, all you would see is like some brackets that said first name in it, just like a typical email software.
Okay.
Um, and then, something like this is Fong from Defining Moments podcast. Just wanted to wish you a, Merry Christmas and
Yeah.
Happy Holidays. Or, yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. So then you could send it out as a batch, and
Hmm.
then you could reply to it.
Yes,
It's like, hey man,
exactly.
I appreciate the message, or hey, do whatever,
Hmm.
something like that.
Yep. And then it's super easy for you to jump on and, jump into that two-way communication if I choose to respond. Or, if you're just wanting to engage in general two-way communication, just like a regular text, you can do
Yeah.
that as well.
Dude, that is fantastic,
Thank
man.
you.
Holy
Thank you.
cow.
Yeah.
How did all this come about, man?
Yeah. So I did not come up with the idea. So our CEO, Martin Lean, he came up with the idea. I think, just over, a year and a couple months ago.
Yeah.
He's working at a company, and they do a lot of business to consumer outreach, and their email open rates were just awful. They were trying to cold call, and who picks up the phone nowadays, right?
Yeah.
And they wanted to go in and send these text messages, but the first problem is he doesn't want his sales team just using their personal phone numbers to text people.
Yeah.
And second of all, there was no real way to go and send out this automated text message that felt like it was coming from a person.
Yeah.
And then third, there was no way for people to actually call back to that number, which is kind of what they wanted people to do when they were sending out these messages.
Yeah.
So basically what happened was Martin started looking for a developer, met up with Austin Graham, our CTO, and then another co-founder, Matt Morphopoulos, joined the team, and he kind of introduced me to the group.
Yeah.
We all came on together and launched it in June of this past year, and
Man.
just been growing since then.
Wow, dude. So and you talk and you have alignment meetings.
Yes.
So is this a quote unquote staff meeting?
You could call it a staff meeting. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of just like an all hands on deck meeting.
Yeah.
The reason that we call it alignment meetings was, right around the time when we were getting started, and, there was, we started bringing a couple more people on the team, and then it's like, wow, okay, this is a lot. We need to make sure that we are staying, aligned as a group and maintaining the type of culture that we want, making sure that, when we set action items, when we say, okay, these are the things that I'm going to do this week, they actually get done.
Yeah.
Forming some, accountability systems and things like that.
Man, I
Yeah.
like it.
Thank you.
I think the phrase alignment meeting is way better than just your normal weekly staff meeting,
Mm-hmm.
because that's too general. But
Yeah.
alignment meetings make sure everyone's congruent with the
Mm-hmm.
thoughts and ideas, and what we're saying is all in line, man.
Exactly.
I love that, dude.
Exactly.
Yeah, I started following Respond Flow actually, and then I put two and two together because I read a story that you had written, and we talk
Mm-hmm.
about these defining moments on this podcast, and your story captured my heart,
Thank you.
and it
Thank
captured
you.
just I was very inquisitive. After reading that, I got chills. I actually read it 3-4 times.
Oh,
So
thank you. That means a lot.
no, it
really does.
It was well written, man. And if you don't mind sharing with our listeners and our viewers, what you went through start from the beginning.
Yeah. So when he refers to my story, he's talking about the Medium article that I wrote. I think it was maybe 3-4 months ago now, and titled 99 and 1 Serenity in the Struggle. So it was really the story of my college career as a OU gymnast. And kind of when I came in, it was really, I didn't quite understand what I was walking into. I'd been a successful junior gymnast. I'd come from a relatively well-known gymnastics family, and I really didn't know. I did, nobody really does when they walk into a new situation like that. Like, what is this going to be? And, I found out as I had kind of, moved through the process a little bit, I really didn't know how to work hard in a way that was going to be the most effective and help me, grow to be the gymnast that I needed to be in order to help my team. And a lot of those things were not just, it's not just working hard. It's like anybody can just work hard, do one more turn. It's about doing the right things. It's about, having the right mentality and wanting the right things. You can want something, if it's a thing, you can want it so much, but if it's not aligned with what's going to get you to the place that you want to go,
Mhm.
it's not going to help you progress. You're
Yeah.
just gonna stagnate. And that's kind of what happened to me all throughout my freshman year of college. um, Going into my sophomore year, it kind of started to pick up. I started to figure some things out. And then I ended up getting a bit concussed near the end of that preseason, and that set me back to where I was having a really hard time figuring it out again, struggling. But eventually I kind of came across this very specific moment that I was down in the dumps, and it was just my absolute low of lows when I was expecting to go compete at this competition in Iowa, and I was already on 2 lineups to compete on 2 different events for that weekend. It was a Wednesday. I came into the gym, and the assignment was basically me competing for those spots with my other teammates, and I was not prepared for that. I was prepared for a light day. Um, those and both of those little mini competitions I ended up doing really poorly on. After I had done poorly on the first one, I my brain was gone. I was not in the right mindset to be competing for something like that. And it was really just that day was one of the lowest points that I'd say the lowest point that I can possibly remember. it kind of. I'll get to the others later on, but
Yeah.
there's a moment that after all this workout, my coach kind of pulled me aside and was talking to me, and it's like you know it's like he told me, why are you here? Not saying like why are you here, like go, like
Yeah.
what is it that is keeping you here? What is it that is you know you know pushing you? And I'm thinking about this, and can't really come up with solid answer. I can say things, but he knows me better than I know myself at this point.
Yeah.
And it kind of he said to me, you can want to do this for the team, you can want to do this for whoever, but at the end of the day, you have to want it for you.
Mm.
And when he said that, it really took me back, because eh, we come from such a strong team culture and team mentality that we almost never focus on the individual.
Mhm.
And it kind of, when he said that, I really started to think about it. And what I ended up surmising from that is, you can't want something for for your team or your organization or somebody else if you don't want it for yourself first.
Mm.
You have to want to be, he told me, you have to want to be the best version of Peter Daggett that you want to be.
Ooh.
And that was really, when I figured out that was what I was truly missing, that really helped to kind of catapult me to the next level. A couple weeks after that, I had a individual competition that was not OU based, where I kind of had an opportunity to go and show that I was deserving to go and compete in lineups. And I went out and had one of the best competitions that I could have possibly had at that time, and earned myself a couple lineup spots, which I was able to maintain for that pretty much the entirety of the rest of that season. I started doing better and better every competition, and was really picking it up. And it was such an incredibly awesome time to go from having so many struggles to like really feel like I was killing it, having huge successes. And that was such a high point that I remember. And going to showing up to NCAA's, I couldn't have possibly been more excited. We were just coming off two consecutive national championships, one of which I was on the team for, but I didn't get to compete. So coming into my sophomore year, I was so excited to contribute to a national championship. Um, and I think we got there on a Tuesday, and the first day of competition was on a Friday. That Tuesday was our first day of training. We had flown in that morning, and I was feeling great. I was doing everything really well. And coming close to the end of practice, I was finishing up my high bar workout. I had done pretty much every skill in my routine. There was one that I wanted to redo. Redid it perfectly fine. And then I thought to myself in that turn, oh yeah, the only skill in my entire routine that I haven't done is this. I'm not going to go into the explanation because it's not even worth explaining. But
Yeah.
uh, what ended up happening was I just really wasn't focusing on what I was doing,
Mhm.
and did this turn, missed my hand, and ended up kind of peeling off the bar. And found out later after the competition that I had torn my ACL, which I was pretty certain of at that point.
Mhm.
I ended up competing the first day. Didn't go too well. I was wearing a really big brace, and I was neglecting to pay attention to all of the other things that I have to make sure are ready to go to compete.
Yeah.
Because I'm so worried about my knee. Doing the landing ended up
Mhm.
falling on my face. So my coach took me out for the team finals, and that was devastating to me.
Yeah.
It was a really hard time, but I was never in my life more motivated than right after that. So after that NCAA championships that our team ended up taking again, I went back into the gym with vengeance like I'd never had before. Had my surgery a few weeks afterwards, and was you just couldn't get me out of the gym at that point. It's
Yeah.
like I would be there 5-6 hours a day, by my own by my choice. Like there was no one that was telling me that I needed to do this. This was all that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that essentially allowed me to, become the best gymnast that I ever was in that time period. I was working really hard for, I was working like crazy for so long, and rolling into preseason, still doing really really well, going all the way, getting through the beginning parts of that was had no issues, was killing it, and then one day it was our first day that we were doing 2 routines on 3 events. So we would go to high bar, what was it? High bar, floor, and pommel horse, I think. I don't remember. Maybe vault, parallel bars, high bar. I can't remember, but we would do 2 of our routines on each of those events. And that day we were starting on high bar. I did my first routine perfectly fine and was a little gassed out after the second one.
Yeah.
Decided to go for my dismount anyways, which probably wasn't overly safe. Looking back on it now, considering I was only 6 months out of my previous ACL surgery,
Right.
and I ended up landing really short. Regardless of whether I had torn it previously or not, I would have done it again. And yeah, that was kind of my other, really, really low. I landed on the ground and I was laying on my back. I just remember screaming, and not in agony, just in pure frustration.
Yeah.
Just like, the amount that I had put into this, how much I had given, was more than anything that I could have. Yeah, I mean, looking back on that moment, it's all kind of a blur, because it's just like I remember it so it's a blur, yet I remember so vividly how like it felt like so much had just been stolen from me in that instant. Like I had given everything to becoming the best possible gymnast that I could have ever been, and in just one instant it's gone.
Yeah.
And that's not true. There's obviously there's more to the story, but when you're in those moments, it's so hard to look beyond the fact that you've been working so hard for something for so long, and have you'd see success, and then it just gets stolen, and then you start to really see some success, and then it just gets stolen again, and it just kind of felt like one thing over and over again. And then that was, it was a really low point for me. After that, for the next few weeks, I would kind of go back and forth between whether I wanted to try and compete without an ACL that season, or if I wanted to get surgery. And I ended up opting that I wanted to get surgery. I just didn't want to. At that point, I was so lost, and
Yeah.
I was like, if I tried to go and compete, I don't think it would have worked out very well for me. I wasn't mentally there, and I wouldn't have mentally been there for my teammates the way that I should have been. But after I had my surgery, which was December 28th of 2017, I then that recovery was a lot slower and a lot more painful than my previous one. My previous one, I was off crutches in a day.
Wow.
This one, I was on them for week and a half, 2 weeks, and in agony. I got sick. I was just feeling so awful. I was having a hard time with my therapy. I didn't want to do it. I wasn't motivated, and it was just really hard. And eventually, about a month after that, I started to get past the really difficult part, and I was kind of on my way to recovery. Starting to do a little more gymnastics, starting to get back into it, planning to, just get ready for this next season. And then, things, as they tend to do, I don't know, on one unassuming Sunday, I started to feel a little pain in my stomach, and ended up having to go to the emergency room that night to have my appendix removed.
Oh my
Just
gosh.
like not even 2 months after that previous ACL surgery, about a month and a half. And at this point, I'm just like, as much as it hurts to laugh when you have your appendix out, I'm just laughing at myself. Like, what else could possibly happen? It's
Yeah.
just like there's nothing left for me to do except laugh about the situation.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, well, what else could possibly happen to me now? Like, I mean, I don't know what could possibly be next. I don't want to know what could possibly be next. But I think having that outlook of kind of laughing about the situation, like, oh my God, this couldn't possibly get worse, was a really good thing for me in a lot of ways. And as much as it wasn't good that I had to, set myself back another couple of weeks from that. I think it was it helped me reset my brain a little bit. And I'd say probably month after that. So at this point, we're probably about a month and a half out from our NCAA championships, which were in the middle of April. So, what is that? February, March. Yeah. So beginning of March. Yeah, beginning of March.
Yeah.
And going into the training room every day still, got to do my rehab. I hated it. It sucked. I had already done it once before, but I was going through it again, and I was over in the pool. They have a little running pool, so I was just starting to do a little actual movement on my knee, just not full weight. And I remember my trainer Jenna just saying, there's a chance that if that you could be ready to compete at NCAAs. And I was like, really? Like, but as much as I didn't quite believe it, that was really all that I needed to hear.
Yeah.
And from that moment on, I was just head down doing every single possible thing that I could have done to get myself to be ready to compete at NCAAs.
Yeah.
I did my first landing on the hard ground at our conference championships, at all. I think it was just a backflip off of the rings. And just landing was like, okay, I can do it. My knee's still stable. I've got this giant brace on, which I always hated using.
Yeah.
But I could do it. And I think, I was doing routines without the dismount where I would be landing on rings and parallel bars. Just trying to get ready to, if I could contribute on one of those or both of those events, it would be, everything that I wanted. And I think the first real landings that I did were the first landings in a routine that I did were Monday before we left for the NCAA championships. And I ended up, getting scores on both rings and parallel bars that would have put me, I think, at the second highest scores in our lineups on those events. So
wow,
that kind of gave, my coach the opportunity to, think, okay, maybe he can do it, and gave me a little bit of that trust. And I think, a combination of that and the trust that I got from my teammates, they believed in me and they wanted to see me do this. They've decided to put me in on both parallel bars and rings for the prelims. Rings, I ended up getting a little short on my dismount, but after that routine, I was just kind of, I was just happy that I had done it.
Yeah.
And then, we went to parallel bars later where I did a better routine and stayed on my feet and got a good score. And, at the meeting afterwards, our team decided that, between our team and my coach, decided they were going to take me out of rings, but they wanted to leave me in on parallel bars. So going into that team finals competition the next day, we were a little nervous, but not nervous. We were excited.
Yeah.
So this was our attempting to be the fourth year in a row that we win a national championship along with an undefeated season. We had, not including myself, our team had 15 surgeries and lost over half of our lineup that won the previous national championship. So
oh my gosh,
over 50% of the team, of the routines that won the last year, had been completely wiped out by a combination of surgeries, and guys just graduating.
Yeah.
So we were, that whole year, it was a struggle for the entire group of us. And coming into that night, it was like, okay, this is that one specific moment. And we gave it everything we had that night. And coming we were doing pretty well, and then we had some mistakes on rings, and that put us a little bit behind. After our vault rotation, we ended up picking it up and cutting the lead really close. I think we might have even gotten the lead back just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
And then, after that, there's only 2 events left: parallel bars and high bar. I was second up on parallel bars. Our first guy went up. He did a pretty good routine, and it was just finally the moment that I had been kind of dreaming of since I had started training at OU, was being able to represent my team at a NCAA championship final. And I just remember going up there and kind of closing my eyes, kind of maybe more symbolically than anything, and just thinking to myself, it's like, you're here, you've done it, you've gone the distance at this point, and the only thing out here that matters is you and the bars. This thing that been doing this sport since I was born. I
Right.
was born into this sport, and it finally being able to go in and give it everything. That specific routine was a moment that I will never forget. Just, I remember getting to, like, kind of close to the end, and it's just like I was so in the moment, and at the same time cherishing it. It was just, there's nothing that could have possibly gone wrong. In the handstand, before I do a swing down for my dismount, and I used to be really, one of the things I was good at was sticking my parallel bar dismount. I did it all the time, and I was so sure of myself in that handstand. Swung down, did my dismount, double pike backwards, stuck the landing, no movement, and just erupted in emotion and just pure passion for everything that I had worked towards and everything that I had had to go through to get to this one specific moment. And my team kind of felt the same way. They're all going crazy down there, and I hope some of them get a chance to listen to this, because I think it'll kind of trigger some memories. When they read the article, a lot of them told me that they teared up kind of remembering that moment, because it wasn't just symbolic for me, it was symbolic for everybody on our team, that this is what we had all gone through, and to finally push through and break through to that one moment. That's kind of it meant a lot to everybody, and obviously myself and all of our coaching staff, and it was so incredible. That is without a doubt the culmination of my gymnastics career right there, and it was so special for everybody. And that yeah, that was pretty much it. After that routine, everybody else went up, finished their parallel bar routines really well. I'm sure there were some nerves still, but I think we were all a little bit reassured, and we kind of knew that we had it at that point. All we had to do was just do our jobs, finish up, and we would have it. And everybody did a great job. Ended up, taking over and clinching the title right there at the end. And yeah, it was a feeling like no other to go up, represent my team, and win a national championship like that. It just to go through so much to get to that spot where I can finally contribute was and will forever be so meaningful to me and my team and my coaches. Yeah, it was one of the things that we This is actually the national championship ring
Oh, let's check
that we
this out.
designed from that competition. And
Wow.
my personal favorite part of that ring is on the sides. It says battle scarred, battle tested, and that was something that kind of came from a team meeting that we had,
I
and
like
right
it.
before the championships, where we were talking about a lot of the teams in the past that had gone out there and won national championships
Yeah.
before us. They were nothing but battle tested. They had been, they had done everything they possibly could. They were in great shape. They had healthy teams. They were, whatever. And they were just battle tested and ready.
Oh,
But
man.
this team that we had pulled together was not just battle tested, but we were battle scarred. And that was,
Wow.
we had given everything, blood, sweat, and tears, put it all into that championship. And
That's
it's
so
so
awesome,
cool that
man.
we came out with it. But
Golly.
I do want to say that one of the most important things that I learned that day came after that routine. I remember, this is a very vivid moment as well in my head, standing down on the floor after that routine, after kind of, a little relaxing a little bit, just remember thinking to myself, okay, and now it's over. So it was kind of like that, realization. And I think this is something that I already knew, but it's sometimes hard to remember in the moment that no matter how exciting it is and no matter how hard you've been working towards something, when you achieve it,
Yeah.
it's there for just a moment.
Yeah.
And that's all that it is. And you have to cherish it, but you have to remember that it only lasts for that 1 second. It only lasts for that 1 minute, whatever it may be. And that was a really important lesson that I learned, I think, kind of between, previous things that I had done in that moment, but I never really felt it until there. It's like, wow, that's it. That's the moment right there, is what everything that I've been just working towards, that I'd been, grinding, giving everything to, that was it. And all right, it's depressing. It's almost depressing, right? But it's not at the same time, because that's what gives you the motivation to keep going, is because if you find something that you're so driven towards, and all you want to do is give something towards it, you give everything to it, then you achieve it, and then, well, what's next? That's all you can say, is what's next. Because there's nothing else you can do except either dwell on the past or move on to something new. And those things are what have really taught me that, you, as much as the moment is the thing that you strive towards and the thing that you give everything for, it's not the moment that matters. It's the journey. It's every step along the way that you take, and every moment that you hate, and the only thing that you want to do is give up, do something else, you just want to give yourself a break, but you keep pushing, you keep working towards this one thing. And even though that one thing really doesn't matter, you just keep going towards it. And even when you know that the one thing that you're going towards will only give you a moment of happiness, you keep pushing towards it. And I think that it's such an important thing for people to realize when they're, trying to achieve something extraordinary, is that when you get the thing that you want, you're going to be happy for 5 minutes. That's it. I mean, you might be happy about it for a while. I'm always going to be happy about the things that I achieved, but the moment is what is not what matters. It's everything that leads up to it.
Right.
And because it only lasts for such a short time.
Yeah.
And just being proud of your journey, and knowing that you give everything towards trying to achieve this one thing, should give you, a feeling of calmness in the things that you're trying to achieve, and that you're doing the things that you want to be doing, and that you're doing the right things for you. And I know it definitely gives me a feeling of calmness. And that was kind of why I titled the piece "Serenity in the Struggles," because it, you give everything, and you hate it.
Yeah.
And if you can understand that this is the part that really really makes you, this is the part that shapes you as an individual, and that really matters, the
Mm-hmm.
part that you hate is where you find that bit of serenity in
Yeah.
it.
Man, I love that, dude.
Thank you.
It's almost like you went to 2 ACLs, an appendix, and those words from Jenna, your trainer,
Hmm.
gave you the confidence. It's so interesting how just words or a phrase from certain people would just get your mojo going again,
Yeah.
right? What when you go back to the first moment and your coach pulled you over and said, "Hey, Peter, you got to do it for yourself." What did your coach see, or what did your coach hear that made him ask you that question?
I think he saw that, I that I wanted. He saw that he saw something that nobody had really ever been able to see before. He saw that I had been doing this for the wrong reasons. And I think I had been doing a lot of what I had been doing had been for the wrong reasons for a long time. Because my entire career was, it was built off the basis of, the relationship between myself and my father. My
Mm-hmm.
father was my coach and was a, incredibly successful gymnast.
Right.
Um, and, growing up with that, it's kind of, it's really easy to let yourself do it for someone else. And I think when I came to OU, I kind of let that, transfer a little towards my team. And I would do it for the team. And that's a phrase that you hear a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
so it doesn't seem like a bad thing. It doesn't seem like it's a bad thing that you're doing it for your team. But if there's nothing that's for you, that's not going to work, because if you don't want something, then why the hell would you want it for anybody
Yeah.
else? you
Yeah.
know and I think he saw that I had these, misaligned motivations,
Mm.
and not motivation. I think just misalignment between what I needed and what I was doing,
Yeah.
what I needed to, with the mindset that I needed to, allow me to train the way that I needed to in order to get the thing that I wanted. And what I wanted was to contribute to the team.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, I had to want it for myself
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I Your coach is wise
That
because
he is.
it's
Thank
very
you, Mark.
yeah.
I hope you're watching.
Thanks, Coach Mark. That it's so important because if you can't take care of yourself, you're not gonna be able to take care of anyone. And no
Exactly.
matter how great your team is, if you can't take care of yourself, you can't help the greatness of it, right?
Hmm.
And so you got to be able to respond to those type of moments
Definitely.
and actually flow in them.
Yeah.
Get it? Respond, flow.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But yeah,
Shameless
man.
plug.
Yeah.
Right. Ugh.
Man, so this is a national championship ring that you're most proud of.
Mhm.
I remember reading in your story that you felt, I don't know if it's uncomfortable or you felt like you didn't really contribute in the first national championship.
Yeah. I mean, to get right down to it, I didn't.
Yeah.
And that's something that will always bother me a little bit.
Yeah.
And, the first national championship the national championship team that I was a part of, was 2016. And that season, I really couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure out the things that I needed to do to get myself to be in a position to where I could contribute to the team.
Mm.
Now, I will definitely say that, it's not easy to contribute on a team like OU. OU, there's a reason that we won 4 consecutive
Yeah.
national championships and went, 5 consecutive undefeated regular seasons.
Yep.
It's hard to be on an OU lineup. And it it was a different level of hard than I was used to. It's not just, being able to compete really well and being ready to do it when it's time to raise your hand and meet. It's being able to do it every single time, every single day, no matter how you feel. One of the things that we do that I don't know if anybody else does, maybe they do now since they've seen us doing it, but we go in at 6 a.m. and we do pommel horse. We do pommel horse routines the day of the competition. And that, when no matter if you're on the lineup, off the lineup, if you do pommel horse, you're doing a pommel horse routine the morning of a competition. And that's something that sets us apart and allows us to be more prepared than everybody else. I think that, not being able to contribute, and I said I didn't contribute. And it really meant a lot more to me the third time around. Because I sat on the bench for 2 national championships, not just one. The second one was, that was in a lot of ways out of my control. I don't want to ever say completely out of my control, because anything that is an action of mine, I feel like is in some ways in my control. But, I tore my ACL 2 days before, and, I wasn't the most stable competitor. So I was, with that kind of messed me up enough to where I wasn't able to go and compete the second day. But, the hardest part about that whole thing for me was my freshman year. I had, come in with such a large gymnastics background. I've been doing it since I was literally born. And coming up through the sport into college, I kind of, I didn't know how to do it. Like I had mentioned earlier, I didn't know how to work hard. I didn't know how to do the right things. And it made it really hard for me to contribute. Like a team like OU is not like competing on any other team. It is a different level, and there's a reason that we've won, the past 4 national championships, or not the past 4, that we won 4 national championships in a row and won 5 undefeated seasons in a row, or regular seasons. And that's just because we do things that others aren't willing to do. And one thing I think a good example of that is like going in and doing pommel horse in the mornings at 6 a.m. We do our pommel horse routines before all of our competitions. Sometimes the other teams that are competing against us walk in the mornings and they look at us like, oh my God, what are those guys doing? It's crazy. But, I think some of them started doing it because they've started to figure out since then. But anyways, competing on a team like OU is not like just competing. It's a different level. And making that as a freshman who really didn't understand how to work hard is something that's really hard to do. So when after my freshman year, I was kind of starting to figure out that, I wasn't doing enough. I wasn't doing the right things. And when I started to kind of pick it up and started to improve a little bit, going into my sophomore year, one of the things that always motivated me was we actually got, after that national championship, we got new banners in the gym. So we had this big banner of the national championship team from the previous year on the podium. And I just remember like looking up at it all the time and just looking at myself on there and thinking like, I never want to feel that feeling again. Just like, the feeling of false victory is what it felt like. Even though it wasn't a false victory for my team, it was kind of it felt like I was, kind of claiming a trophy that I didn't earn. And, I don't know if I 100% agree that I didn't earn it per se. I didn't contribute to winning that, but, it takes a lot more than just the team that goes and competes out on the floor to win a national championship. I don't know. I couldn't say for sure if I truly did contribute in some way, shape, or form. But I feel I like to think that I did, at least looking back on it now. I know I did a little more on my sophomore year, but going through every day, looking up and saying, I don't want to feel like that ever again. And then just kind of, it was something that stuck with me throughout that entire year. And when I was finally getting there, it's like, okay, like when I finally started to pick it up, it's like, okay, yes, like I know I can avoid that. And then that didn't exactly happen. I went and I tore my ACL, and it was like it felt it it was almost worse that time because it really felt it was worse the second time because it felt stolen instead of
Mm-hmm.
just like I didn't do what I needed to do. It felt like I had
Yeah.
done it and I had put the work in and I was ready and then it was taken.
Yeah.
And I think the culmination of both of those things kind of gave me that such a huge amount of motivation going into my junior year that really allowed me to, first off become the best gymnast that I ever was and then come back from another ACL in time to go and compete for a national championship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you happen to have the rings for, was it or 16? Was
So
it your freshman year?
16, 17,
17,
18, and
18.
then we do have one from my senior year, 19, but it's just
Yeah.
a conference ring.
Yeah.
Yes, I actually do have those.
I'll check those out too, man.
Yeah, of course.
Wow.
Got to bring the rings. So this is my freshman year.
Oops. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
It's a
from
good thing we got carpet now.
yeah, right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dang. So what's this number one mean?
So it was just a number
Boomer.
one sooner.
Dude,
Yeah.
I feel like that Nick Saban commercial,
Right. And then
Oh,
yeah,
wait,
so this is
way
my sophomore year.
Which way would you wear it? Where when you people
I
are
usually
looking at
wear it, that way.
it? Okay.
Yeah. That was my sophomore year.
Dang.
Yeah.
This was legit too.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at that. It's amazing.
Yeah. And then my junior year is the one there, and then this is
Yeah.
our conference ring for my senior year.
I like it.
Yeah. Definitely not my favorite ring, but it is what it is. I got to win, 3 national championships while I was at OU, and
Dude.
I can't complain about anything
Yeah.
with that,
100%,
Yeah.
man. You talked about you didn't feel like you were contributing in 16. But my thought is, man, you don't get a ring if you don't contribute. You know what
Yeah.
I mean, you're part of a team, and I think it's important that when you go back and look at that, you did contribute.
Yeah.
And the progression from that moment on to look where you are now.
Yeah.
You know what? Speaking of where you are now, what's your next mission? I mean, you're going from a collegiate student athlete to graduating, and what's the next mission for you, man?
Next
These are
mission,
heavy, by the way.
yeah, right. Next mission is taking Respawn Flow to the next level.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's been a journey already in the past. What has it been? 7 months since I've joined the team.
Yeah.
And it's really, really just starting to take off. We're getting more clients all the time, and we're always looking for new clients. Just hoping that we're going to be able to, raise some investment money here relatively soon. And then, just kind of continue growing it and continue, facing those struggles in a little bit of a different way.
Yeah.
I finished gymnastics, and then, right away it's like, if I hadn't found something like this, if I hadn't found Respawn Flow and the guys that I'm with now, I would be in such a rut. I have to have something. That's just the kind of person that I am. I have to have something that I'm chasing towards. And it's different with Respawn Flow now. Definitely. It's nice because, one, my body doesn't get destroyed, which is great.
Yeah.
But it's also different because it's a little bit easier to not look towards that one singular moment and just really focus on the journey with something like this, because it's not like there's a national championship for startups.
Yeah.
It's eventually, yes, there's moments that are really exciting and that you really like chase towards, but there's no one singular moment where it all resets at the like right after that, which is really cool. It's a constant uphill grind. There's no downtime ever, and I absolutely love it. It's not like there's any downtime with gymnastics. It just changes seasons.
Right.
You're either in the competition season or the training season.
Yeah.
With Respawn Flow, it's just kind of always in the work season.
Yeah. Speaking of seasons, do you read or watch a lot of movies? You read a lot of books?
I'm really an audiobook guy. I
Yeah.
do read from time to time, but I generally I'm very auditory learner, and I have trouble sitting still long enough to actually read a book.
Yeah.
Um, but with audiobooks, I generally will listen to them like 3 or 4 times, so I feel like I really understand everything that's trying to be conveyed, and we'll write down individual notes from specific parts within the books that I find really important. Um, and of course, I love television and movies every now and again, but
Yeah.
that's a lot of the times ever so more increasingly is on in the background while I'm not really paying attention, just on my laptop doing some work.
Okay, so with that, then, if you think about your favorite movie or scene from a movie or a chapter from a book, what best represents your season of life right now?
Hmm. My season of life right now. I don't know. That's a hard question. I'm not so one thing, especially when I listen to books or watch television or movies or read or whatever, I'm not really one to project myself into something to relate to it. I
Mm-hmm.
try and I try and pull as much from it as possible and not really allow myself to I don't really channel myself in things in any way. I generally relate to things, in a television show or movie better as people that I know in my life, because I feel like as much as I might be able to relate to these characters individually, I can interpret them a lot better if I am, relating them to someone in my
Yeah.
life. And a lot of the times, my favorite shows tend to be ones that I can, relate key characters to people that have played important roles in my life.
Yeah.
Um, as for books, I'm really a nonfiction guy, and I love learning from great entrepreneurial minds,
Right.
just kind of think the way that they think, and trying to position myself in a like culmination of knowledge from all the people that I've been able to listen to their knowledge and kind of steal from it.
Yeah.
Not steal, but kind of take bits and pieces here and there and kind of mesh it into what I want my values and principles to be.
I like it, man.
Thank you.
What are a couple things that people don't really know about you, man?
Couple things that people don't know about me. That's a good question. I'm really a pretty open person.
Mm-hmm.
I try and be pretty open about most everything. Um, and I think that kind of allows me to not have to answer questions like that.
Mm.
It's funny because that is something that, like, whenever I get asked, what's something that nobody knows about you, it's like, oh, I really don't know, because I try and be so open that I really never I don't get asked, I don't get asked questions like that. And it's something that I've learned, that the more open you are about yourself, the less people want to nitpick and really dig into you and figure it out. So it's
Mm.
it's a little it's kind of a little trick. Maybe something kind of combination of something that I do on purpose and intuitively, that I've learned over the years, that if I'm open about myself and who I am, I am first off being the realest version of myself, which is
Yeah.
something that's important to me,
Right.
is being genuine always
Mm-hmm.
and not faking anything. The more you fake stuff, the more
Yeah. Don't ever do
it's
that.
it's not ever going to get you anywhere.
100%.
And yeah, it's really important to be genuine. And it's also kind of allowed me to maintain a healthy, not distance, but you know what I mean, like, kind of keeping my personal, like, my personal internal things within myself,
Uh-huh.
and not to say that I don't want to share things with people. No,
Right.
I'm just open enough to the point that I don't ever think about things that I hide. You know?
Mm,
Yeah.
I got you, man.
Yeah.
What are a couple questions you wish people would ask you, but no one ever asked?
Ooh. That was a hard one too. I'm really slow to answer a lot of these questions.
That's all right.
I guess I'm getting asked too many questions. No, no. I don't know. I guess maybe, I don't always I guess part of the reason that I kind of have trouble answering a question like that as well is if there's something that I want to say or feel like needs to be said, I will say it.
Mm,
That's kind of part of my personality is I'm not ever going to hold back unless I feel that it's necessary in that moment.
yeah.
And it really depends on the interaction that I'm having. Um, you know, people don't. I'd say like I'd say I get asked the same questions over and over again. And then there's certain people that will, kind of be able to avoid those questions that I tend to, kind of vibe better with. And those are the
Mm,
people that really, get me to answer the questions that I'm not I'm not normally asked. I would say maybe. Oh, I got a perfect question. What's a question that you don't normally get asked? That is definitely one that I don't normally get asked. You can cut that out. That was so cringy.
no, we're gonna keep that in because that's raw and authentic. How about
Oh
that?
man, yes,
Yeah.
very. No, I think.
That's good stuff, man.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think just kind of. I don't really ever talk about my. I guess I don't talk about my dog all that much, and I absolutely love my dog. He's
Yeah.
he's my best friend in the whole world.
Yeah.
And I'm not a huge. I like social media, but I'm not really a big Instagram guy. So I think
Yeah.
kind of the visual medium is not really that's not really my area of uh, preferred, social expression, whatever you want to call it. So
Yeah.
I don't necessarily, post all the time about that, but I'd say that's probably something that not everybody knows. Sometimes I'll bring my dog somewhere and people are like, "You have a dog?" Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I have a dog. He's on my Instagram somewhere.
That's
But
funny.
yeah. Uh,
Think about that common question. What's a common question people always ask?
um, it really depends on the context, the question that I most got asked kind of growing up is what's it like growing up as Tim Daggett's son.
Mm.
And yeah, and for those of you that don't know, so my dad, his name is Tim Daggett. He is a Olympic gold medalist from the 1984 men's gymnastics team.
Yeah.
And he's also pretty well known now as kind of the voice of gymnastics. Does commentary on NBC Sports for all the Olympics and any gymnastics event that you will see, other than maybe a couple college meets here and there, but he does a couple of those too. Um, I'd say that's definitely the question that I got asked more than anything growing up, um, and it got old. It's something I answer it pretty much the same way almost every single time. It's like, well, he's my dad, and he's my dad. So that's pretty
Yeah.
much. It's kind of it's not like anything. It's like what's it like growing up with your dad as your dad?
Mm.
Well, he's my dad. It's he was my coach, and that was a hard thing that we did. It was really hard. We did it for pretty much probably 16 years,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of moments where neither of us really wanted to keep going and still do it, but we were able to push through the tough moments. And there's something really special about being able to go through that experience with your dad, like the father-son coaching relationship. It's something, it's incomparable to any other sort of, athlete coach relationship. And
Mm,
it, it's something that it will always be really special to me, that,
yeah.
and I'm glad that we were able to do it as successfully as we were until I went off to college.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I did know about your
Yeah.
dad, and I do know that he's a gold medalist, but
Hmm.
that's for another podcast. Maybe I'll bring him on, but this
Yeah.
podcast is strictly about you, so I didn't want to really talk
Yeah.
about your dad.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. However, though, maybe you should write about your relationship with your dad growing up and how challenging it could
Hmm.
be, because I hear about it all the time from coaching soccer, because I coached boys competitive soccer for a long time, and they're like, "Oh yeah, my dad was my rec coach, man. He was my coach when I was 10 years old at 12, and I didn't like." And I think that's natural,
Hmm.
you know. You're it's a little different level because your dad's a gold medalist and you're a high profile 3-time national champion gymnast on a high profile university too. So that's another level. So it'd be interesting to, throw it out there, man.
Yeah. I
Write a
think,
post about it.
yeah, it's definitely something that I've been wanting to do.
Good.
I definitely want to write something about that, because it's first off, I mean, I feel like I have always wanted to have a way to, truly say thank you to my dad
Mm,
like that, and,
love
kind
it.
of go into a little more detail about it. Um, and obviously whenever I do go and write that, there's going to be a lot of parts that I will probably cut out of there and, specifically share with him, just because, it is something special that
Yeah.
there not everything needs to be shared. But
Right.
there's definitely some things that I, could share from my personal experience,
Hmm.
with others who may be, in that same sort of,
Yeah.
father son, mother daughter, whatever it is,
Hmm.
parent to child coaching relationship, that might be able to help give people some clarity
Yeah.
on, on both ends, not just as the athlete, but also as the coach, because it's really easy to, hear the same things from your son or daughter over and over again, and be like, yeah, yeah. But when you kind of hear it from a different perspective, and you hear it from the perspective of somebody who's already gone through the entire process, it might
Right.
help people, see the error in their ways, and help, improve those relationships that are so important.
Yeah, man.
Because there's truly nothing that, at the end of the day, if it's compromising on your relationship, to a point that you feel like it could not be repaired, then that's a point that you either have to make a major change, or you have to end it.
Mm,
Because if there's a point to where, and don't get me wrong, there were definitely points in the journey with me that I didn't want to do it anymore, that I felt like our relationship was so damaged.
yeah.
But there was always, we would work it out, we would figure it out between us. It would be, it would take time, it's
Yeah.
not easy, but we would figure out the best way to move forward with it. And,
Right.
sometimes that might have been, him not coaching me quite as much for a little bit, and,
Right.
others that might have been, a change in my attitude,
Yeah.
because it's a two-way street. It's never just the coach, and it's never just the athlete.
Yeah.
It's a two-way relationship, and it's a two-way road all the
Man.
way. Yeah.
I love it, dude. If there's such thing as a perfect answer, that was freaking
Thank
awesome.
you.
Well done, man. I feel like that was from the heart,
Yeah.
man. So good stuff,
Thank
man.
you.
How do you want to be remembered?
How do I want to be remembered? Um, I want to be remembered as someone who just came in, played the game of life, enjoyed the journey, and was able to positively affect the lives of all that I was able to encounter. And it's an impossible goal, because nobody's able to positively impact the life of every single person that they come in contact with. But, that's something that I really want to, as I go through this process with Respond Flow, and with, future ventures that I might do, I really want to, kind of hit on this premise of, I am of reciprocity in the companies that I have. And being able to improve the lives, experiences, whatever of each individual person that I touch and being able to do it on a large scale.
Hmm.
I want to build something that is, incredible in scale and magnitude. Really could care less about money. I'm not a money guy at all.
Yeah.
I like cool cars, but that's about it. I really just want to build something cool with meaningful relationships with meaningful people,
Yeah.
and affect. I don't want to say change the world, or help the world become a better place, because
Yeah.
it's so cliche nowadays to hear someone talk about how they're going to make the world a better place by
Right.
doing all these things. And while my goals may be somewhat similar, I really do mean that. And whether I'm able to achieve that or not is yet to be seen.
Yeah.
I will continue to do my best to not hurt people that I am touching with the both my with my personal relationships and through any ventures that I may have.
Yeah.
uh,
I love it, man.
Thank you.
You're a genuine dude. You're
Thank you.
authentic. I appreciate you giving us the time to record a
Of course.
podcast with you, and I
Yeah,
feel like we can actually have a pretty good friendship going forward
definitely,
with this, man. Because
definitely.
we met a few times already. We texted, tweeted. I forwarded your story on to numerous friends. My wife
Thank you.
forwarded on to her friends in Denver. Actually,
Thank you.
that's going through something similar through
Wow.
soccer.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's phenomenal. We'll put it in our link in the profile when we release your podcast on YouTube and on all the podcast platforms. So,
Awesome.
how do people get in touch with Peter Daggett, man?
People can get in touch with me really, really easily. I always say it. It's our tagline for our company. Just text. It's easier. Just text me. It's easier. You can find my number on my LinkedIn profile. You can find it right on my Instagram. It's pretty easy to get in contact with me. Shoot me a message, shoot me a text, shoot me a DM, whatever. I am at Peter Daggett on all platforms. And you can check out RespondFlow on all channels as well. Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, whatever. I might have said Instagram. Did
Yes,
I? I
yeah,
don't know. I did, but we're on everything. So yeah, go find us, give us a follow, RespondFlow. And if you are a small to mid-sized business looking to improve your communication with your customers, give me a ring and I'll come set you up. I think we might be setting you up sometime
yeah.
pretty soon
We're gonna
today.
do this, man.
All right.
Yeah, we're all about it. So on Twitter,
Yes.
your handle is at Peter Daggett.
Yes. And that's 2 G's, 2 T's.
Yeah. So let's spell that out. So just
Yep.
our listeners.
PETERDAGGETT.
And the Respond Flow is at Respond Flow?
Yep.
Okay.
RespondFlow, RESPONDFLOW.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, look into the camera here.
Yeah.
Peter Daggett, do you approve this podcast?
I do approve this podcast. Thank you so much for having me. It has been an absolute pleasure, and I would absolutely love to come back anytime you want to have me.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have a catch up and conversation about this in a few months, see what you're doing, how your story's going with your dad, Respond Flow, path forward. I mean, this isn't in here, man.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. My name is Wong Lam, and I definitely approve this podcast.
All right. Thanks, man.
Appreciate you, man.